Right, so, as we hear that Israel are preparing to stupidly attack Iran again, it seems the US has tried to arrange things, shall we say, so that Israel can do this as a symbolic face-saving exercise. Apparently where back channels between Washington and Tehran have basically gone along the lines of something like, "Please, Mr Ayatollah Sir, would you please allow Israel to bomb you in a minimalist, not at all damaging way, so they can say they got their own back on you, so we can stick to our Western lines of saying you performed an unprovoked attack on Israel, so we can save face ourselves, and everything can go back to how it was before your consulate in Syria got bombed, and Israel can say they had the last word." Well, I said the other day that I didn't know how to swear in Farsi, but I dare say if you can, then that is the response the US administration conceivably got for acting like a shiver looking for a spine, rather than disciplining their out-of-control, spoilt brat child nation of Israel, who seems set on widening this regional war because of Western cowardice towards them. Right, so this is quite the novel story, isn't it? Coming from an anonymous Iranian source, it has to be said, who has spoken to the Cradle, an online magazine that covers current affairs across West Asia. Now, if true, really does sum up the weakness of the US, doesn't it? That they are so desperate to continue to be able to support Israel that they would go to the nation they've committed an appalling, unprovoked attack on and dare to ask them if they will help them out of the hole they've got themselves into with their slavish support for Israel, a nation that aided Israel by taking out Iranian ordnance travelling through Iraqi and Syrian airspace at that, and essentially go to the Ayatollah or his people and have the temerity to ask, "Please will you now let Israel strike you back again? We promise they won't break anything valuable, so that they can say they had the last word, can save face, and we won't look like Netanyahu has got all of our collective testicles in a vice somewhere in Tel Aviv. Because frankly, that's how weak and sycophantic we all are." To no surprise whatsoever, Iran has said, "Not on your nelly." Here's what the Cradle piece says. An Iranian military security official has revealed exclusively to the Cradle that the US contacted the Islamic Republic asking the nation to allow Israel a symbolic strike to save face, following Iran's retaliatory drone and missile barrage this weekend. Iran has received messages from mediators to let the regime do a symbolic strike to save face and ask Iran not to retaliate, the source, who spoke on condition of anonymity, revealed to the Cradle. He added that Tehran outright rejected the proposal delivered by mediators and reiterated warnings that any Israeli attack on Iranian soil would be met with a decisive and immediate response. The reply was delivered directly to the Swiss envoy in Tehran by officials from the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC, and not the Foreign Ministry. According to the Cradle's source, the decision for the IRGC to reply directly was meant to send a strong warning to the US. Iran successfully embarrassed all of the integrated radar network and anti-missile systems of the US and the Israeli regime. The US even activated its parked satellites over the region to do maximum protection and failed miserably, the Iranian military official added. The revelations come as US defense officials have told Western media that they expect a limited response from Israel against Iran, which will reportedly focus on targets outside of Iranian territory. Nevertheless, US officials stressed that Tel Aviv had not briefed the Pentagon on a final decision, as discussions within Israel's fractured war cabinet continued. The US does not intend to take part in the military response, they confirmed. However, they expect Israel to inform Washington about response plans in advance. Israel has publicly vowed to respond to the Iranian operation this weekend, which saw the launch of hundreds of drones, ballistic and cruise missiles by the Islamic Republic in retaliation to the Israeli bombing of Iran's consulate in Damascus. This launch of so many missiles, cruise missiles and drones into Israeli territory will be met with a response, Israeli Army Chief of Staff Lieutenant General Herzi Halevi said on Sunday, speaking from the Nevatim Air Force Base in southern Israel, which was one of 3 military targets successfully hit by the Iranian barrage. Iranian Deputy Foreign Minister Ali Bagheri Khani told State TV on Monday night that Tehran's response to any Israeli retaliation would come in a matter of seconds, as Iran will not wait for another 12 days to respond. So all in all, the US would like Israel to have the last word, it seems. But is this all about face saving? Is it all about optics and looking tough on the international stage when they look remarkably weak and silly at this point? Well, certainly that must be part of it. It is an election year in the States after all, and Biden goes into it now being nicknamed Genocide Joe, and he's done nothing to undo the damage caused by that. purely his own fault because he has backed Israel through every single thing they have done. But Iran getting pulled into this fight is a fight the US do not want to have, and will absolutely be something, if they do get dragged into conflict with Iran, despite what they might be publicly saying, that the American people will absolutely end up blaming Joe Biden for. But not only are Israel embarrassing their warfare daddy, the US, by throwing their toys around and causing chaos, they're inflicting economic damage by their misdeeds as well. Already the Red Sea has become a trade nightmare for the West with nations in the East. There's an oil price spike, inflation is rising in the US, and US equities will be affected too again soon, all in an election year, as I just said. But then there will be the hypocrisy that gets exposed by this move as well. When Iran responded to Israel's strike on their consulate in Damascus, we saw the US and UK taking down targets flying through Syria and Iraq, their airspace, and we had France shooting down drones and missiles in Israeli airspace. And then there was the Iron Dome defence system as well that Israel put so much stock in. Despite the Iranian targets being military only, the likes of France, the US and the UK have claimed their interventions were to save lives, defend civilians and avoid escalation. Well, okay, let's take that point for a moment, that's fine. But when Israel attack Iran again then, as they are said to be planning for this weekend, will France and the US and the UK be defending Iranian airspace then? Because after all, they want to protect civilians, save lives and avoid escalation, don't they? Will they do that? Well, I think we guess the answer to that, can't we? But returning to that matter of the Iron Dome though, if it is so impregnable, why did Israel need extra protection against an Iranian threat then? Why not let them test it against Iran's strike if it is so good as they have since claimed it was the main factor in destroying Iran's weaponry? Well, Ukraine, once upon a time asked about the Iron Dome defence system, wants to help them against Russia. And Israel wouldn't let them have it. Apparently they said it was only designed to deal with Hamas and their homemade missiles. So which is it, Israel? Not what it is cracked up to be? Or is it more than capable of dealing with Iranian high-tech ordnance and you just didn't want to share? The other way you can look at it is if the Iron Dome is so brilliant, it's a sort of wonder Israel, as the only nation with it, can act as it is, can attack who they like and feel safe from any repercussions because they've got it and no one else has. Well, I reckon the truth is probably somewhere in the middle. Some Iranian missiles got through, we know that, despite an air response and the Iron Dome. So it could cope with some attacks, but not all. And at the end of the day, Iran have now tested it and will have gathered intelligence on that. So ultimately, Iran, I think, are holding all the cards here right now. They've said they are finished with Israel, but Israel can't handle that, and the US are trying to placate them, it seems, still, instead of dealing with them properly. If Israel is stupid enough to attack Iran for a second time, now able to draw a line under matters as things stand at this moment, then what follows is all on them. Israel has been told to take the win, to stop with the narrative, in other words, that the Iranian attack did limited damage, because actually that in and of itself is a face-saving exercise. Iran are not mincing their words when they say the response to any further attack by Israel will be immediate and it will be far more severe. The question of what happens next is a topic I went over in this video recommendation here, so do have a watch of this next, and I'll hopefully catch you on the next vid. Cheers folks.